Gulf Coast Studios in Oklahoma City. You're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Barry Trammell. Time for 5 and 5. We've got 5 topics, and Barry, we've got some college football to talk about, so let's get to it. First of all, finish this sentence. OU's biggest advantage against Notre Dame is?
Well, it's a guy who wasn't even starting 2 games ago. Now that's Blake Bell and his ability to throw. I think the Sooners can run better than they were last season. They got more of a running offense. They will run Blake Bell some, but Blake's ability to wing some passes out of those run sets, out of those play action situations. I think if OU wins this game, it's because Blake Bell will throw the ball well.
I think it's also Blake Bell, but I think it's because he can do so many things. And Jason Kersey, our OU writer, wrote last week about Blake's size. And Barry, you alluded to it after his first start as well, just that he's kind of Ben Roethlisberger-esque. He doesn't go down easily. He can have guys make contact with him, but he doesn't go down. He can run it. He can roll out. He can pass out of situations like that. To me, that's a big weapon. When you've got a quarterback that's not stationary, that's not statue-like in the pocket, can get out and can be mobile, I think that's a huge advantage. I think a defense is going to struggle with that. I think Notre Dame will struggle with that. That's the advantage I think OU has to rely on. What about this question? Barry, finish this sentence. Notre Dame's biggest advantage against OU is just
physical strength. The Sooners are faster than Notre Dame. Doesn't take any kind of evil eye or eagle eye to figure that out. Bob Stoops alluded to the increased speed on defense for this year's Sooners compared to last. But speed doesn't get it done against Notre Dame. It requires brute strength and power. Notre Dame is tough up front on both sides of the ball. They play a physical brand of football. They don't spread it out. They're not playing. This is not like playing Baylor or Texas Tech or OSU or somebody. This is somebody that wants to play old-fashioned football. That's Notre Dame's biggest strength against the Sooners.
I think the biggest strength that Notre Dame's got is they're at home. They're in their comfort zone, a place where they've won a lot of ball games over the years. They've won ball games this year. I just think that comfort zone and OU having a somewhat, especially defensively young squad, guys that are making first road starts, I think things like that, when you say you're going to make your first road start and you're going to do it at Notre Dame, that's a little bit of a tough thing. So I think Notre Dame being at home on that hallowed ground, I think that is a big advantage to them. All right, true, false, Barry. This is Dana Holgerson's last year at West Virginia.
I'm going to say false. Maybe not because they want him back, but I don't know that the Mountaineers can afford him. West Virginia was in a sort of a budget crunch when they joined the Big 12. Joining the Big 12 put them in a further budget crunch because they had to do some exit fees to the Big East, and they didn't get the full allotment from the Big 12. Now, over the next 2, 3, 4 years, they're going to make all their money back, but right now they don't have it. So I think it's more likely that West Virginia hangs on to Dana Holgorsen, just hoping he turns it around, but thinking if you get, sort of a Kendrick Perkins deal. We might have to get rid of him, but it may be next year instead of this year.
Yeah, I think Holgerson, if record was the only consideration, I'd have a hard time believing he would last at the end of this year. I mean, to see where West Virginia was and where they are now, I mean, think about it. A year ago at this time, West Virginia was a team you thought might contend for the national championship. Geno Smith was making a run at the Heisman, and then they started to fall apart this year. And clearly this year, just a shadow even of that team that they were at the beginning of last year. They lose, get shut out, get blown out by Maryland. Now Oklahoma State comes to town, Holgerson's old team, and you got to think the Cowboys are just going to run over the Mountaineers. That is not going to play well in Morgantown. Not going to be happy folks out there. All right, Barry, our fun question of the week, college football stadium that is still on your bucket list. You've been to Notre Dame already, but is there a college football stadium on your bucket list?
There is, and if I stay in the good graces of Opubco and of a healthy body, I'm going to get to go to Army's Michie Stadium at West Point. They're on the Hudson River. Sooners play at Army later this decade. It's the one place I've always wanted to go. Number 2 on that list is Annapolis and see the Navies. The Navies have the good sense not to schedule the Sooners. So I don't know if we'll ever get to Navy, but I hope to get to Army. The beautiful setting right there in north of New York City, right on the river with all the trees, and all the history and the tradition. That's where I want to go.
Well, I've never been to Notre Dame, and that's probably at the top of my list just from a history standpoint of wanting to go there someday. But I'll tell you what, a place that I wouldn't mind going either is LSU for a night game. Boy, talk about a place that is crazy under normal circumstances, but put a game at night at LSU and it goes off the charts. So give me a night game at LSU sometime. How about we get a little OSU-LSU matchup? You want to make that happen?
I think everybody would be fired up about
I'm on board for that. All right, lastly, Barry. Hey, is this a down year for college football? We've talked about it being a down year for the Big 12, but is it just a down year in college football?
Well, actually, you know, I chatted with an SEC guy yesterday, and he said he thinks it's a down year in the SEC. So I don't think it's a down year in the ACC. They're sort of having a renaissance with Florida State and Clemson and Miami. They're looking okay. Pac-12 is looking strong with Stanford and Oregon. Washington has come up. So I don't think it's overall a down year in college football. It's hard to have a down year all across the board in a sport that broad and that rangy. But in the two conferences that we care most about, the Big 12 and the SEC, because of their dominance, it does appear that those two leagues are down.
Yeah, and maybe I'm just feeling like it's a little bit of a down year after this last week of games. This was a bummer of a week for college football matchups. Not very good. I mean, there just weren't very many good ones. You're watching a lot of seemingly dead coaches walking and, you know, programs in disarray. Maybe it's just the week that is. Overall, I think at the end of the year, we'll come to the end of the season and say, what another great year. Great games, there'll be great matchups, there'll be great heroics and different things that'll happen, but right now it just feels a little blah. So maybe just going into conference play will remedy everything in college football. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.